Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to my potential league starter video. If you're newer to the channel, the last two leagues, I picked a build for each Ascendancy class that I would league start with, allowing you all to vote in the comments. I will gather all those votes for each Ascendancy, add them to this wheel, shuffle it, and spin it, and that's the build I will play on league start. So there are lots of different options, but I will be showing you all of the preparation I have done leading up to Affliction League. Now, there's a lot of crazy things going on in Affliction League. All of these gems that I'm quickly scrolling through have had changes to them. Different qualities, some of them completely reworked, lots of gem changes, so there's lots to explore. Let alone the transfigured gems. There's all of these like alterations to gems that we can make by running lab. So there's some completely reworked skills in here, allowing some new playstyles we have not been able to mess with before. Some of these giving things back for things taken away from Helm and Chance or alternate qualities and whatnot. So all the gems got changed, and then a lot of them are getting like extra versions, and it's a lot. There's a lot of potential. And then on top of that are the 3 Wildwood Ascendancies that we can spec into beyond the normal Ascendancy classes. Now, I feel like most builds are probably going to play with the Primalist, as you can get charm sockets and then kind of build things from other Ascendancy classes. And with this, you can probably make anything in the game work really well. There's also the Tincture class, which is something I will certainly mess with, though off the league start, I don't think I'm going to mess with one of these, because there's still so much that I just don't know about tinctures and what can go on here. I don't think there's a significant amount of leverage you can just pull from the Warden class here, especially if you're playing any kind of spell build. This is mostly for attack-based things. And then there's the Warlock one that has the Sanguinomancy, big added physical damage equal to the life cost of your skills. Something that would be certainly fun to mess around with. Converting Energy Shield into max life from equipped items is also insane. A lot of fun stuff to play around with in here. I have one set aside for the Warlock, though most are going to be the Primalist, because there's the most open to you in this class, where these are both more niche options. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to work my way around the tree, talk about each Ascendancy class, what I have planned for it, where you to vote for that class. Now, I believe every single one of these builds I will be able to push to red maps on a league start with little to no preparation. And it's something that I try to encourage with my videos, is to try and build your own thing rather than having this super locked in, nailed down sort of build. But for the Raider, I want to play Fire Trap. It's a build I played on Raider before, utilizing the nearby enemies have fire, cold, and lightning exposure while you have phasing, losing 20% to those resistances. There is a node on the tree allowing you to gain frenzy charges if enemies trigger traps, so I don't need to go for Way of the Poacher. Come for Avatar of the Chase, get a bunch of effective onslaught, have a lot of speed, a lot of spell suppression, a lot of phasing, but then Avatar of the Veil, can get ailment immunity from that, and then not have to worry about exposure and run a big fire trap build. Fire trap quality is being changed to trap trigger area of effect, losing 20% fire damage. And I think we've only seen one fire trap transfigured gem. Yes, here it is. It loses its ground dot and instead gets insane added fire damage against burning enemies. This is a really nice ignite-based fire trap gem, but I am going to focus the character more around building up the degen from the damage over time from the existing fire trap, so I won't be building around the fire trap of blasting it itself, as you have to work in ignites to the build. Next up is Pathfinder. Now, Pathfinder, I think, is probably the strongest league starter you could probably jump into. I think Toxic Rain is going to be very, very strong. Poisonous Concoction is going to be very strong. I saw a guide on YouTube today about some kind of poison caustic arrow Pathfinder totems. Like, that looked pretty cool, but you'll see here why this isn't just the, like, these are good league start builds. But for me, I've played Toxic Rain. I've played Poisonous Concoction. I played a lot of Caustic Arrow myself. So for me, what I will be doing if you choose Pathfinder is I want to play Scourge Arrow, something I have never messed with before. Definitely get the chance to inflict Withered, Poison, Prolif, and then probably Nature's Adrenaline and Master Surgeon. Back to the big list. Scourge Arrow has lost its increased projectile speed, but I guess with quality now, it gains an additional arrow out of each spore pod. So previously, a 2020 gym used to only fire 9 arrows from each spore pod. Now it fires 11. I've never used Scourge Arrow before. I saw Barbarous King, a newer player to Path of Exile, messing around with it last league. Looked like something I wanted to mess around with, so that's what I have picked for Pathfinder. So my list of builds isn't going to be the most meta set of things. They're more along the lines of things that I want to explore myself, though if you do want strong meta options for Pathfinder, Poisonous Concoction, Toxic Rain, definitely highly recommend it in my book. So now let's move on to a Deadeye. I have something strange planned here as well, as I want to play with Power Siphon, using additional projectiles, maybe even Far Shot instead of Ricochet, get Tailwind, Focal Point. There are a lot of good Deadeye builds. I really like Spectral Throw. I played Deadeye Ice Spear cast on crit last league. There's your Tornado Shot, your Lightning Arrow, so many things you can do with Deadeye, but should you post Deadeye in the comments below this video, I will league start with Power Siphon Wander using a Deadeye, completely winging it. Like literally for every single one of these builds. Deadeye, I have Power Siphon picked. I'm probably going to use this Ascendancy class. No tree, no POB, no build planning. I'm going to go into it and wing it. That's what I like to do in this game. This is it. It's all the prep. I'll try to do this for each one of these. How has Power Siphon changed? So Power Siphon fires a projectile at up to 7 targets. Modifiers to number of projectiles instead apply to number of targets fired at. More crit chance per power charge. This is a more multiplier to crit chance instead of the increased. Used to fire 7 projectiles, now it does target enemies. It gets 30 crit multi per power charge, up from 10, and it had a description change. I don't know if there's any transfigured Power Siphons. I don't know if I can search these the way that I can on this big list. So if there are transfigured Power Siphons, I will look at them and see what they do, but I've never league started as a Wander. I figure why not messing with Power Siphon, as it's changed up a bit. Power charge scaling is definitely higher here than it used to be. It'll be something new to explore. Up next is Saboteur. Here I also want to play a Wander using Spellslinger, Bladefall, and Blade Blast. So this is going to use trigger bots. I'm going to get increased cooldown recovery, grab Board in the Shadows for defense, and then probably Bomb Specialist as well. Maybe I work Poison into this. Who knows what I would be capable with the new Primalist Ascendancy that's on top of this. But what I want to do, use Wander Spellslinger with Bladefall and then detonate the blades from that with my trigger bots. There should be so much rain of blades happening. Should be a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun with Spellslinger Frostbolt that I played on a Saboteur, so I'm curious to see how something different works with that. So Bladefall's had some changes. It's losing its crit tag, losing the less damage per volley, reduced crit chance for volley, losing the extra area of effect, and then losing the fewer lingering blades if you don't cast the spell yourself. So all of the Bladefall blades will be able to land in the ground if you trigger the spell where it wouldn't used to. And then I'm going to be firing them from 2 trigger bots, so I'll technically have double the lingering blades in the ground to detonate with the Blade Blast. It fires 6 volleys now at 20% quality instead of 5. And then, yeah, like I mentioned, it loses its critical tag. Blade Blast has had its radius set to meters, and it no longer affects Blade Vortex. And since I can have so many more lingering blades in the ground, the 50 blades can be detonated this way. You blow up all the blades from the Spellslinger Bladefall with the Blade Blast and hopefully get a lot of damage out of that. We've been shown two different versions of Blade Fall. There's one with additional volley, and it deals more damage per volley and has increased crit chance per volley. The other one has critical strikes do not deal extra damage, but critical strikes impale enemies on hit, and you lose a volley with this one. So you can get spell impales, or you can get extra volleys, stack crit chance and damage per volley. I don't know if I would need to go into either of these avenues with it. Then for Blade Blast, there's Blade Blast of Unloading, which works with Blade Vortex, and then Blade Blast of Dagger Detonation. If you're using a dagger, it will gain tons of flat spell damage based on the damage of your equipped dagger. Like a lot of extra damage. Though any extra flat spell damage added elsewhere is not going to add to this because it does not have an effectiveness of added damage. So you're only getting extra flat damage via the dagger. However, I want to use a wand, so I won't be messing with the dagger detonation myself. Up next is Trickster. Now this one was a request. Someone a couple weeks ago asked me if I could play Arc specializing in evasion and energy shield on a Trickster. So you know what? For Trickster, I am going to play Arc, maybe even into Arc Traps, maybe self-cast Arc, who knows where it will end up, but that is the goal. Play Trickster, Evasion ES with Arc. Arc has been changed by adding more damage with hits and ailments for each remaining chain, remove its chance to shock, remove the more damage for each remaining chain, so it works with ailments now, and the base crit on Arc is now 6% instead of 5%, and at 20% quality it gains an additional chain, whereas you used to have a helmet chant for the additional chain. So the 20% quality on Arc gives it an additional chain. And there are the Transfigured Arc gems. One of them splits towards additional targets, and modifiers to the number of chains apply to the number of splits. And then there's the Arc of Oscillating. Each time the Arc chains, it will also chain a secondary Arc to another enemy, but this secondary Arc cannot chain further. And I think it has one less chain than the base gem, so it might have a little bit extra damage. It has better scaling with damage for each remaining chain as well. So maybe I mess with one of those. We shall see. But that is the plan for Trickster. Probably CI. Lots of ES recovery, high evasion, high energy shield, Arc funness. For Assassin, I want to play with Penance Brand. Probably get Deadly Infusion for the extra base crit chance there. Probably go full into damage with Ambush Assassinate Opportunistic. Elusive is very strong from Mistwalker. I don't know if I need to mess with that. But the plan here is to play Crit Penance Brand. Penance Brand has been completely changed. Now deals less damage with ailments, deals more damage with hints against branded enemy, removed a lot of the energy pulse stuff, and then gave it huge effectiveness of added damage. Tons of extra fizz damage, and it now activates way faster. So when the branded enemy reaches 20 energy from the activation here, a large explosion occurs and the brand is removed. And it seems like it only activates while attached to enemies. It doesn't have different durations based on not attached or attached. It attaches to the enemy, large explosion occurs, and then the brand is gone. But it has so much damage. So much effectiveness of added damage. So I think this is going to be pretty busted, honestly. The gem has a base crit chance of 6 already. With all this damage, I think you're going to be seeing this skill like one-shotting bosses. And I want to try and pull that off using an assassin. The hard part about it is getting over to Runebinder to have an additional brand attached to an enemy to get 2 of them off on a single target. But otherwise, you stack a bunch of cast speed so that they ramp up really fast. You keep applying new brands, but when they crit, give it so much damage that it will obliterate anything. That is the idea there for the Assassin. I think it's going to be good. A reworked skill to play with. Something new. Looks like lots and lots and lots of damage. So it should be fun. Up next is Necromancer. For Necromancer, my plan is to play with the Falling Zombies. Now this one definitely requires a Transfigured Summon Zombie Gem. Yeah, Raise Zombie of Falling. Does not require a corpse. Minions have a chance to deal double damage. Minions' hits cannot be evaded. It drops a zombie from the sky, and the minion falls to the ground, causing an impact that deals damage in an area and kills the zombie. So zombie on death effects should still apply here. I'm not 100% sure how this is going to work. I would have to experiment with it as I go, but I believe we were told that it will trigger corpse explosion effects. So the plan here is probably go into Plaguebringer, Mistress of Sacrifice, so I can have the offering affecting me, probably Mindless Aggression and Unholy Might to give that physical as extra chaos from the falling zombie, extra damage there, get extra area of effect from consuming a corpse. And assuming your falling zombie counts as a corpse, it should be completely fine. So then my plan with that is to use minion instability. If they're releasing their on death effects, like stack as many like your minion dies effects to like set off a bomb when the falling zombie goes off. No real thoughts on it other than that. I believe Zizarin has a guide for his plan. I think it might be a guardian for the following zombies. It's probably more fleshed out, but if you vote for Necromancer in the comments of this video, I will play with falling zombies and see what I can do with it in SSF. For Elementalist, I want to play with a static ball lightning and lightning conduit. Hits always shock. You get the Bastion of Elements, probably get Mastermind of Discard, Heart of Destruction. You get big, more effective lightning ailments. All damage can shock. Big exposure. Extra elemental damage against unique enemies. Big AoE otherwise. So the whole idea around this is the transfigured ball lightning of static. Now, this ball lightning does not move. It just will zap enemies that are around it. And then unlike an Orb of Storms, which is normally required for maximum output of lightning conduit, we should be able to stack up a couple of these ball lightnings. Even though it does have a cooldown time max of 3 uses, it should deal big shocks, probably better than you can get with Orb of Storms. And I hope it can offer a new path for a lightning conduit build that you can't get using Orb of Storms, though it'll probably be built very similarly for that. Lightning conduit change, base radius is in meters, maybe quality gives it radius. Now there's 20% increased damage from the quality removed, now deals 24% more damage with hits per 5% shock effect on the enemy, up from 20, so a small buff there. Ball lightning is getting extra radius, it looks like, as well, removing the lightning damage from quality. There is a lightning conduit from the heavens. I think it has bigger damage, but it doesn't hit all shocked enemies. It looks like it has a limit on the number of enemies that it can hit. I think that'll definitely be fun, definitely strong. Lightning Conduit is very good, especially as a league starter, though the issue always comes with getting shocks off, and I think that the Static Ball Lightning will do that well. We shall have to find out. Let me know if you would like to see me play the Elementalist. Next up is the Occultist. For Occultist, I want to play with the new Blight gem that can spread blights by using Contagion. So grab Withering Presence, more chaos damage, reduced chaos resistance, enemies can explode. If they're cursed, additional curse, all good stuff there. Now I played with Blight in Ruthless and it was strong. Base duration has been increased to 2.8 seconds from 2 seconds on Blight. So that is huge. The potential for damage with Blight has definitely gone up from that. Doesn't look like much change on the Contagion gem. Radius in meters instead of extra area of effect. Added spreads when the affected enemy dies. Simple stuff. There are 2 different Contagions. So the base Contagion has 235 base dots. Spreads when enemy dies. Contagion of Subsiding spreads, has a way bigger damage. Has a big cast time. It only deals 3/4 as much damage as before each time it spreads. So it has bigger damage, but it diminishes. Contagion of Transference. If an enemy is hit while affected by Contagion, the debuff spreads to other enemies. Spreads when the enemy's hit, not when the enemy dies. Interesting. But then there is Blight. Blight of Contagion can be spread by Contagion. That just seems crazy. The other Blight of Atrophy reduces enemies' life regeneration rate in addition to the movement speed and has less base damage. So I will definitely have to use the Blight Gem of Contagion so that I can cause it to spread, and I'll do that with the Occultist. I think that should be a fun time. So I'll probably use the basic Contagion gem rather than either of the two new ones here. Up next onto the Templars is the Guardian. Now I've played a Guardian in both of the last leagues. I played Dominating Blow and I played Absolution. Now Guardian is definitely very strong. Radiant of Crusade is insane for leveling. Makes leveling a character to maps pretty brain dead alone. Unwavering Crusade is awesome. Bastion of Hope is good. And then in SSF, you're really kind of left with, well, what else do I take here? Probably Time of Need. There's not as much you can do in SSF with a Guardian as there is in a Tradely environment where you can build up party's armor and other things you can do here. So if you guys pick a Guardian for me and I wind up playing Guardian again, I'm going to just like full on meta Summon Raging Spirits Guardian build. It's definitely one that's strong. I don't have much interest in playing a minion build again myself, but I will add Guardian to the list regardless of my desire not to really play Guardian. But if I'm going to play Guardian, I'm going to be playing something really meta with it rather than messing around like I normally do. So if you want to see SRS Guardian from me, you can pick that here. So what happened to Summon Raging Spirits? SRS now has a chance to summon an additional minion, removed minion movement speed, and minions deal 38% more damage. So that might have gotten kind of nerfed there actually, but we shall see. I still see guides coming out for SRS. There's a Summon Raging Spirit of Enormity. Maximum 6 Summon Raging Spirits. Minions hits are always crits and have increased critical strike multiplier. Base duration is 5 seconds. How does that compare? Base duration is the same. So instead of 20, you can only have 6 of them. They have way bigger life and always do critical strikes. So that's something to potentially mess around with SRS. But for me personally, I don't want to play Guardian straight up. For Hierophant, last time I played Hierophant, I messed around with Armageddon Brand, and I haven't played a totem build on Hierophant for a while, so I want to play with totems. Probably something looking like this. A lot of mana regen per summon totem, more damage per summon totem, and I want to play Glacial Cascade totems. I knew I wanted to play totems. I wasn't quite sure what. I thought about Ice Spear, given that I mess with it, and I've always heard it was good with totems to maybe see how that worked. But Glacial Cascade is something that I haven't seen or messed with in quite a while. So I figured, you know what? Let's make Glacial Cascade totems. Figure it out. See if it works. So what happened to Glacial Cascade? Glacial Cascade have the damage quality removed. Cannot knock back unique enemies more than once per second. Final burst deals to 50% more damage and has 100% more area of effect. Cannot knock back. So that went up 50% on the final burst. From Glacial Cascade. What does gem look like here? Can I find a Glacial Cascade in any of these? Glacial Cascade of the Fissure. 100% converted to cold, causes 8 bursts. Physical damage 568 to 852. So a series of small bursts. Previously it has 4 bursts, though less damage. And the final burst does way more damage. However, the transfigured version does not, though each of the smaller hits does more. So it might be better for clearing or bossing based on which gym you have in. Looks like that might be it for Glacial Cascade changes, unless there's something new they haven't released to us, which could be the case. There's so much with gyms here, but that is the plan for Hierophant. Glacial Cascade totems. Armageddon Brand's really strong. Archmage Storm Brand's really strong. Like, there's so much stuff you can do with Hierophant that's not based around totems or brands as well, because of what you can get with Sanctuary of Thought. But this time I will push into totems. Up next is Inquisitor. With Inquisitor, I want to play Lightning Strike. Crit based Lightning Strike, probably looking something, maybe Instruments of Virtue, maybe Sanctuary, but a big crit Lightning Strike build on Inquisitor. Inquisitor, you can do big crits, you don't have to worry about enemies' elemental resistances, but you can't push those resistances then below 0, and instead you start stacking way more extra damage and try to mitigate their defenses in other ways through stacking lots of crit multi and whatever we can do. Sanctuary causes enemies to take increased damage. Aria Penitence, enemies take increased elemental damage, so we won't have to deal with resistances, basically. Lots of crit chance. Go crazy with this. There's all kinds of fun stuff that we could do with Lightning Strike. We could mess around, as was mentioned to me, with Mana Storm, a lot of Mana Leech, Mind of the Council. I'll probably get to play around with the Volatility support gem. I didn't mess with that at all last league because this is going to be a crit lightning build. That's the best place for that. So, Lightning Strike. Used to fire 2 projectiles, now fires 4. Loses its projectile speed. I guess the quality on it probably is additional projectiles now. Otherwise, that seems the same. What about augmented ones? Here we go. Lightning Strike of Arcing. So instead of just launching the projectiles, projectiles can chain, and they deal more damage per chain. Something that could be interesting to mess with. I would probably experiment with it. I've never played Lightning Strike in any meaningful way. Never messed around with energy blades. There's a lot of stuff to dive into playing a attack build up in the top left side of the tree that I've just not done. So that's why I've got Lightning Strike selected here. The chain definitely is interesting. So I'll probably check that out as well. But that is the plan for Inquisitor. On to the Marauders. First up is Chieftain. So for a Chieftain, my plan is to, for the only option that is not going to pick Primalist, I'm going to play a Sanguiomancy Penance brand, trying to get as much added flat physical damage from this cannibalized faith and make a super fat penance brand using a Chieftain. Probably Crimson Power, try and mess with the energy shield nonsense. I don't know what I would do with the last point here, to be honest. But then with the Chieftain, definitely get to Salio and Valico. Have tons of max resistances. Maybe I can convert it all to fire, use Ramako's Sun's Light, and then maybe Hidekora Death's Fury is the only other thing I could really pull in there. Chance for enemies to explode. Well, I guess if I were to convert it all to fire, I could probably make use of Namahu Flames Advance with this, which is a really cool node that causes stuff in the radius of joules to convert damage into fire. But that definitely is the plan, to use the new Penance brand that has the insane extra damage on it, and then stack a bunch of flat with the new Ascendancy, go full on blood magic, stack as much life as possible, and see what happens with that. This one would be quite the experiment, but I'll get to play around with the new Penance brand and see if I can make Sanguiomancy, cannibalized flesh, and Crimson Power work off the league start. So if you want to see that, pick Chieftain in the comments down below. Up next is Berserker, and same as last league, I want to play Earth Shatter on Berserker. Probably Clave the Slaughter, Warbringer, and Blitz, and if not Blitz, maybe Aspect of Carnage. Not quite sure on that. We'd see where it went. But I want to use Earthshatter and explode Earthshatters using the War Cries. Lots of War Cry cooldown recovery this league that we were not able to get before, especially Infernal Cry is really strong there. Get Rage stuff here as well. So maybe I build around some kind of Rage nonsense. The big thing is I just want to play with Earthshatter using War Cries. It's a combo I have not explored myself, so that is the plan for Berserker. What do we know about Earthshatter? Everything has changed. Earthshatter removed AoE, modified, maximum of 18 spikes up from 15, creates 6 fissures up from 5, so that's more. I didn't actually realize that it was getting this 6 fissures. That's cool. That's more coverage with Earthshatter. Should be fun. Earthshatter's got these spikes right there. It's red. Anything across these? Not seeing anything. So if there is an Earthshatter transfigured gem, we'll have to find it along the way. It's been a while since I played a Berserker myself. I think that would be very fun. For Juggernaut, I have written down Trauma Ground Slam of Earthshaking. So I've still never played a Trauma build. I've not played Bone Shatter. Nothing of the like. So I would just wing this as I do. I imagine you need tons of armor. So Unbreakable, doubling the armor from body armor is probably really important. Want endurance charges for sure. I'd really like the extra AoE per endurance charge. Additional physical damage reduction per endurance charge might be really good. Untiring is pretty nifty. Oh, physical damage prevented from hits in the past 10 seconds regenerated as life per second. Okay, that's probably, maybe even something like this. Just wing it. I want to play with the new Ground Slam and then play with Trauma for the first time. That's the plan for Juggernaut. The Ground Slam deals 69 more damage with hits to closer targets, up from 49, so a big damage buff. Remove the AoE and increase stun duration, so quality probably gives it more damage now. So it's probably getting this 20% extra damage from the quality on the gem now. Probably the only way that has really changed. And then the Transfigured Gem is Ground Slam of Earth Shaking. It has a better effectiveness of added damage, so stacking extra damage is good. It still gets the quality for more damage with hits to closer targets, and it has a way bigger angle, reduced enemy stun threshold. So this is really big for big stunning hits, bigger hits from the Ground Slam. That's why I want to use a Ground Slam of Earth Shaking. It's not a strike skill, slam skill, so it would definitely turn out and play differently than Bone Shatter would for sure. Ground Slam's also one of my personal favorites. One of the gems that really drew me into the game at the start. It'll be fun to play a Ground Slam build again. Up next is the Scion. Scion is staying the same from last league. I had planned a self-cast Exsanguinate, and I would really just be kind of winging this. One of these definitely would have to be Gladiator for the more physical damage over time, and then whatever else I needed to make this work. The idea though, self-cast Exsanguinate. Most times you see Exsanguinate used is through some kind of cast on effect or through traps, and Exsanguinate is getting some fun changes as well. So this removed the 20% increased skill effect duration from quality, and the base duration from the Exsanguinate debuff is now 2.5 seconds and up from 1. So it is getting so much more duration on it than it used to have. So it can only stack its debuff 3 times. So now, if you were to unleash and Exsanguinate via self-casting, you can get all 3 debuffs for the damage over time off with one click of a button with the new Exsanguinate. Now there is an alternate Exsanguinate of Transmission. This one only fires 1 tendril, and that can chain 21 times. You get extra duration off of it, and it looks like the damaging debuff is the same. So currently it will fire tendrils at up to 9 targets, and those can chain if you use the chain gem. The transfigured version only fires at 1 enemy but chains a lot more times, or some extra duration it looks like. So I don't know if I would mess with that, but that is the plan for Scion. Self-cast Exsanguinate, make it work however I can. Moving on to the duelists, starting with Gladiator, which did not see any changes, but if I were to play a Gladiator this league, I will play an Earthquake Bleed build. So definitely Blood in the Eyes, Gratuitous Violence. Earthquake needs a 2-handed weapon, so extra block I'm not gonna get from a shield, so I probably have arena charges. I don't really know. I'm just gonna play Bleed Earthquake because it sounds cool. Maybe I can get this extra chance to block. Maybe I get endurance charges, or frenzy charges. Maybe I get frenzy charges. The exploding bleeding enemies don't have to really worry about chance to bleed because you get 50% bleed chance from Blood in the Eyes. So what is different about Earthquake? It had its quality changed, removing the 20% increased damage. It looks like it's gaining more damage with hits and ailments from its aftershocks. Oh, it looks like you can do this with a one-handed weapon. Doesn't force you into 2 hands, so maybe there's block potential with Earthquake there. But I'll probably go 2-handed big slams with that, and it looks like it'll be getting increased damage from the quality. Well, the plan here is to actually use the Earthquake of Amplification. Aftershock deals 15% more damage with hits per 0.1 seconds duration, and deals more damage with ailments per 0.1 seconds duration. So the longer duration you make it, the more damage you can get out of it is the plan there, and it gets more area of effect per duration. Should create really strong bleeds with its Aftershock, which is the plan for my Guardian build. Next up is Champion. Haven't played a Champion in a very long time. Champion definitely is really nice for the 20% fortification. Super strong. If I play Champion this league, I'm going to play Toxic Rain Totems. Now, Explosive Air Ballistas are definitely something that's really popular, especially on Champion, and I'm pretty much going to take that concept and play Toxic Rain Totems instead. Toxic Rain is getting changed, so it's getting extra base duration from the quality on the gym now, so scaling Toxic Rain is going to be different than it used to be. I've actually played this exact build before in a gauntlet event a long time ago. Stack a bunch of duration, stack a bunch of extra totems, be super tanky with a champion. Oh, Toxic Rain fires 5 arrows, removes fired 4, so it's getting an additional arrow. Okay, that's cool. Base duration is 1.2 seconds, up from 1.0. So before, with Toxic Rain, we were always scaling the duration as much as possible so that when we get all the pods exploding up on the enemy, and we can make all of those durations last as long as possible. Now that the base duration is being increased to 1.2 seconds, all of that same damage scaling will still apply. It'll just last a little bit longer, so the peak damage out of Toxic Rain is going to be higher than it used to be. And you can still scale this with Despair and Temp Chains to get insanely long durations of the debuff from Toxic Rain. That is the goal there. Get tons of totems, get tons of Toxic Rains down, scale the duration through the roof, watch the damage ramp up while being nearly unable to die. Now, I don't think we've seen a Toxic Rain transfigured gym. So the base gym is being changed. I really like the duration change there. Something that would be fun. Something can be a little bit different from what I'm used to doing. I'm normally building around Caustic Arrow. Toxic Rain's kind of an afterthought. This is full in Toxic Rain Champion. And lastly is the Slayer, the Bone Shatter build. So if you want to see me play Bone Shatter, I will play Bone Shatter on a Slayer. And I think it probably ends up looking something like this right here, probably. Get a bunch of fringy charges, get as much armor as possible, probably. Have crazy life leech, and I've not watched a guide on Bone Shatter. I barely know anything about it, other than you're going to take physical damage, stacking trauma, and supposedly you can scale that into a lot of damage. Sure, I'll wing it. I'll try it out. If you want to see me play Bone Shatter, vote for Slayer. So what about Bone Shatter? What changed here? Remove stun duration on enemies and now gets more damage per trauma. So that seems like a buff. Oh, it was getting 4% more damage per trauma. So trauma scaling is improved with the quality on the gym now. There is a Bone Shatter of Complex Trauma. Lose all trauma on reaching 10 trauma. Is that normal? No. So it has a max trauma and deals 20% more damage per trauma. You just can't stack it as high, I guess, with the Complex Trauma. And then Bone Shatter of Carnage. Looks like it has the trauma removed. Chance to double stun duration. Big stuns. Stunning an enemy with the strike releases a damaging repulse. So that's completely different skill with Bone Shatter of Carnage. Like, I'll probably dig into the trauma aspect of it were you to pick that, and those are just the skills that I touched, right? There's so many skills that are being changed, so many things that you could explore. I would encourage you, rather than following a build guide for your league starter, look through all these gyms, find something that just like jumps out to you, that thing that is like, oh, I can do more with that than I used to be able to do. And then you pair that with an Ascendancy class that you would like to play on. And then this league, it's all in this right here. No matter what you want to play, what Ascendancy class it is, you can shore up all of the areas where it's failing, likely through these charms in the Wildwood Ascendancy Primalist. So no matter what build I'm playing in this league, I think I'm going to be able to solve the issues that it has through these charm sockets in a way that I wouldn't be able to before. So I think this league, there's much more build viability probably than there ever has been. Mostly the changed qualities, encouraging people to experiment more with new things, but these charm sockets are absolutely massive and definitely going to change every build that gets made. Sure, the tinctures look cool. I think it'll be fun to mess around with. Same with the Sanguimancy, but these charm sockets are wild. So this is the video I made for this exact same thing last league, and like I mentioned, you can vote in the comments. This person voted for Bleed Bow Glad. Let's scroll down through here. Saboteur vote, Turtle Army Necro, Guardian, Bleed Blow Glad, Earthshatter, Berserker, Chaos Spellslinger, Saboteur, Gladiator. This is all you need to do. Just one of the builds you would like to see me play, comment below the video. It'll get added to the list. And as far as my personal goals for the league, I went into each of the last 2 leagues with a big goal of something that I wanted to do in SSF. I have achieved neither of those goals. I wanted to farm a new Lionized Glare bow to make something with a Slayer, being able to scale up the crit chance on the Lionized Glare. I've not gotten to do that. Last league, I tried to farm Mavens to get an Echo Forge. I farmed 64 of them last league. 64 Mavens is a lot to go through in SSF. It means lots of Maven invitations. It gets repetitive and daunting, and I did not get an Echo Forge. So honestly, I currently don't know what my goal is. I want to play with new builds and experiment, do what I normally do playing Path of Exile, just do it more because we have new stuff to mess with. That's really my big plan. If I had any kind of goal, it would be to probably wrap up my journey through Affliction League by February 21st, because that is when I plan to jump in and play Last Epoch. I have not played Last Epoch in its development stage at all. I decided to myself, even hearing that Last Epoch was definitely doing a lot of cool things, I decided I don't want to play it before it launches. I play Path of Exile in a constantly unfinished state, and I have for years. I figure if I'm going to jump in and play a new action RPG, I want the game to feel somewhat finished. And my plan for this league is that come February 21st, I'm just going to jump head on into Last Epoch, and hopefully I have Path of Exile finished up to a point where I feel happy with the league by then. That's still 2.5 months away from now, but like, if there's any kind of plan, it's that. I typically don't have much of a plan for much of anything. We just roll with it as it goes, and I will spin the wheel just as the queue timer is going down right before league launch and pull build out of a hat, pretty much. I'll play that to red maps in SSF. Put your votes in the comments below. I didn't get this video out as early as I normally do because they're constantly trickling out all these new gyms. So you only get like one little over a day to make your votes in the comments, but do so if you would like to add your weighting to the selections. But that's going to do it for this video. I'd like to thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, definitely hit the like button, as it really helps the channel out a lot. Subscribe to make sure you don't miss more videos from me. If you would like to help support my channel, please consider using the super thanks to the heart icon just below the video, or by joining to become a member, and I'll see y'all in Affliction League. Cheers.